the reason I'm doing it now, I just flat forgot this. So now I'm actually going to get a torque wrench out, torque them to factory spec. I'm hoping that shows that up. Hello everyone, welcome back to Maverick Mods. Well, this week, throwing parts at the Firebird and big paint reveal toward the end of the video. Yeah, I'm gonna make you wait to the end. What can I say? When you completely disassemble a car and start reassembling it, there is an order of assembly. Now, I don't have a manual that tells me step 1, step 2, step 3 about how to assemble a half 71 Firebird, half 2000 Z28 Camaro. So sometimes I'm kind of winging it, but there's a kind of a natural order, I guess you could call, of how things and when things are supposed to go together. On the other hand, I got a bunch of parts just sitting on the shelf, you know, got them painted up. If they're not in the way of something else, let's just throw them on, just get them off the shelf, kind of, you know, clean up the floor a little bit. So there's a little bit of that too. And the main focus is getting the HVAC box prepped and ready to install in the car. And then, like I said, we'll talk a little bit about paint. So, grab your popcorn. Let's get started. The car is ready to come off the rotisserie, but there's one last thing I want to do before I take it off the rotisserie, and we'll figure out why that is here in a minute. I want to get the pedal assembly installed. So this is actually pretty easy because this basically matches up exactly with the firewall section that I put in. So let me get it lined up here and see if I can reach around. Probably can't. Hang on. Let's try something else. In order to get the pedal assembly to line up, I actually have to pre-install both the clutch master cylinder. Try and get this lined up here. I kind of went about this the wrong way. There. So I've got to put in the clutch master cylinder, and I've got to put in the brake booster. Now, both of those might wind up being temporary installs. In fact, they probably will. I'll probably have to pull them back out at some point in time. But the reason that I've got to put both of those in is that the mounting bolts actually, both on the brake booster, come through the firewall, and on the clutch master cylinder come through the firewall. And those have to be in place in order to put the pedal assembly in place. Alright, we're very precariously hanging things by some bolt heads here. We'll get some nuts on here. Two of these you got to kind of fish through here to get to. And now we can go ahead and snug this up. Now I've still got one nut and one bolt to go over here. Alright, we're tight there. Now, I'll show you the reason why I went ahead and put this in to begin with. Car's upside down. Here's our pedal assembly. The reason I'm putting this in now is, well, frankly, because I forgot to put this I guess it's a support. Well, it's another mounting bolt for the pedal assembly.
Notice this is loose right here. I just, when I was putting all this together, I just flat forgot about this. This helped stabilize the pedal assembly to keep it, you know, steady and stable. And what I need to do is, I've got my bolt here, I've got a spacer, got a little nut down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to weld this nut to the top of the, I guess this would be the cowl. Then, of course, once I'm done with that, I'll paint everything and get it all nice and pretty. But the reason I'm doing it now, I just flat forgot this. So I know it's a little hard to see, but I got the nut welded in, coat of paint on it to keep it from rusting, because I had to grind away at the soundproofing there a little bit. So let's stick our spacer in right there. Get our nut, get our bolt started. Give it a little snug. Alright, so that pedal assembly is rock solid. And if I ever need to take, I probably will have to remove the clutch master or the brake booster at some point during the assembly process. Now that everything's locked in, I can pull that out, put it back in without having to hold the pedals from both sides. Got the brackets for the snubbers for the rear axle. You notice that the snubber itself is not installed yet. I might have to adjust the height just a little bit. Got to wait for the rear end to come in to finalize that. Hey, motor mount's going in, or motor mount tower's going in. Let's see if I can remember which side goes, because they are handed. That's this one. All right. Hit the heads of the bolts with a little paint. Get the other side. All right, now I'm actually going to get a torque wrench out, torque them to factory spec. So these are 10mm bolts, 10.9 whatever the rating on the bolt, which means the torque spec is 53 foot-pounds. So I've got my torque wrench set. It might seem like I'm just kind of installing parts willy-nilly, just kind of random, and well, to be honest, sort of, yeah, that's true. I'm just kind of clearing out the parts stash. But at the same time, some of these parts need to go on, I don't want to say in a predictable order, but they do need to, some need to come on to facilitate other parts going on. And this bracket here, and this is just a bracket that helps locate the rear of the the front wheel well housing. I've got to get it in before I put in the HVAC box. So I've got to put the HVAC box, well, it looks like it's together, but it's actually not. It's just the shell. I gutted it because, well, frankly, when I was moving it around so much, that the AC evaporator and the heater core inside and everything makes it kind of heavy. So I just took all those parts out. Now I got to, well, take it apart again, put them back in, and actually reassemble this box before I can put it back in a cart. And along the lines, I was really freaked out just a few minutes ago because there's a gasket here that runs all along the perimeter where it bolts to the firewall, except there's no gasket right here. And I really just kind of freaked out going, A, where'd the gasket go? And B, how am I going to replace this, because they don't make these anymore. I have gone back to the junkyard to find a crappy one. Well, and then I looked and it's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then I felt underneath, and the gasket, when I put this back together, folded back underneath there. So maybe there's still a gasket that I can use. But I got to get it apart first, so let's do that. If I can remember where all the nuts and bolts and screws are. probably didn't have to take that one out. I'm just taking screws out at this point. And do I have any inside of there? I don't see any. Let's see what that did. Nope. Guess this one does have to come out, and it's one different size. Well, I don't remember this thing being this many pieces, but well, maybe it was. That was a different size, so I'm just going to stick that one right there. There we go. Well, that didn't do it. Still something else. Okay. Well, here's hoping I can actually put this back together. There's the rest of my... How did this happen? Oh. More little tiny screws. There we go. And there's the rest of my gasket, which is good. That way I probably won't have to do any replacements on this. Kind of sucks that it got smashed when it got put back in. But maybe I can reconstitute this. First part of the puzzle on the HVAC box is the air conditioner evaporator. You can slide it down into the lower part of the case. It kind of sits in the slots on the side over here. And at that point, this part of the box I can put back together, making sure that my little gasket is not trapped this time. So now we can take and put the top on, which should just slide down. Well, turn it this way so I can see it. Just be able to slide it so that that gasket kind of just sits. I've got some alignment pins here. So this slides up in here like so. Yes, it does. Alright, fits there. This little gasket goes there. Yep, that goes there. And then this, I think, I don't think it actually bolts in anywhere. I think it just sits in here. I can't see where there's anywhere where it bolts down. I think it just sits in there. So hopefully it'll stay there when I put this part of the box in here. Well, it's got to go this way. I've got a big bag of more screws. Let me go grab those. So when I took this apart, I had a big bag that I labeled Z28 HVAC hardware. Problem is, there's door bumpers in here too, so I'm not trusting everything I put in this bag. No idea what that is. It's a piece of foam and a nut. Lesson learned. If you label a bag, only put the stuff for whatever you labeled on in the bag. The box is ready to go back in, but before I do that, I did see one thing, and I'm shocked and surprised that I didn't catch this before. There's a little crack here in the plastic case. This is on the bottom of the case, so I'm not too worried about it being, readily visible. And the fix is going to be good old JB Weld. So I'm going to hit the edges here with a little 80 grit. Crack's a little more extensive than I thought it was. I'm really surprised I didn't see this before. I'll hit it with a little wax and grease remover. Got my JB Weld mixed up. I took a Bondo spreader and just cut it down a little bit to a little kind of a little small spatula or small, whatever you want to call it. We're just going to kind of sculpt it on there, sort of like it was Bondo. Make sure we get it in the kind of in the crack there. Okay, let's let that dry. I don't know if this is 5 minutes. Let's see, how long does this have to take to dry? 4 to 6 hours. Well, okay, I'll have to come back to this tomorrow then. Should have got the 5-minute JB Weld. I'm sure most of you guys know this, but some of you may not. JB Weld is sandable. You can actually kind of finish it after you put it on. But you got to have power first. Once you get power, I'm not looking for final body work perfection on this. I just want it to look like somebody didn't just slap a bunch of JB Weld on this and didn't think twice about it. All right, close enough. Now, obviously, there's no way I'm going to be able to... What happened? There we go. There's no way that I can match the original plastic finish on this. I don't really like painting these boxes, but this one has some scratches on it, so I figure I probably could... I could probably get away with painting this one. We'll just throw just a quick coat on it. Tape off the some of the outlets here, and just put a quick coat of paint on this so it looks presentable. Whoa, okay. All right, well, it is time. Put the HVAC box back in. A little heavier than it was the last couple times I've moved it around, so this might be kind of fun, or it might not be. Alright, before I get too all fired up crazy, I do have some wiring I've got to deal with. I'll figure out kind of where that goes. So let me work on that for a minute. Oh, okay. Not that big a deal. Alright, let's see what it takes. You know, I just painted that. Fits like a glove. So down along the bottom here, I've got some long bolts here. The factory had some sealant kind of for the holes here, and actually seems like a pretty good idea to me. So we're going to put a little RTV in there. Probably just keep water from getting down if it happens to run down below the bottom of the box there. No idea how much to put on there, but let's give that a try. And I got one that goes way up in here. If you ever wonder where all your 10mm sockets went, that's where they go. All right, my HVAC box is installed. One thing I'm not particularly happy about is from the inside, the screws, they really stick out here. I think I may come in and just use a cutoff wheel and just kind of knock those down just to make them look a little bit better. That's an aesthetic thing. But, you know, one of these days, you're working back there somewhere, that's definitely an arm gouger. So, beyond that, let me fix that real quick, but the HVAC box is installed permanently. The moment we've all been waiting for, the color reveal. Little background. The car originally, well, best way to describe it, car of many colors. Originally it was brown. It had, well, black EDC coating on the quarters, Bondo, blue deck lid, and spoilers.
It had, what else did it have? It had a red hood, and the fenders, I think, were just rust. Leaves a lot of options. So the original idea, if this car was a restoration or it was a return it to factory, or even a mild factory hot rod build, using a period correct, 1971 paint code color probably would be appropriate. Obviously that's not the case. This car is basically a Firebird, the skin only, and everything else underneath is, well, I've touched it and done a few mods here and there. So the sky is the limit. My first thought on the color was like a deep dark cherry candy, and that's where I went for a while, and that was kind of the color there for a long while. My paint guy and I had a lot of conversations about candies, and the gist of it, without getting into details, is that if you want to make the car garage queen, then do a candy. If it's going to spend time in the sun, it may take a while, but the UV is just going to eat that up. It's going to tear up your nice dark cherry. If it sits in the sun for any length of time, it's going to wind up turning pink. We don't want that. There's a lot of chemistry behind that goes beyond what we're going to discuss here and beyond what I understand. But suffice to say, granted, if you leave the car out 24/7 in the sun, not going to happen. It's going to be garaged, but you also don't want it to be a garage queen just because of the paint. So, thought about it some, and the dark cherry is off the table. So what else looks good on this car? I looked at dozens and hundreds of cars out there and what paints looked good and what colors looked good, and it all kept going back to black. The best looking cars like these that I've seen out there are just that beautiful, beautiful black. But that created a problem, because a lot of what was, the other ideas for the car, the wheels, etc., everything's black. So it's going to have a black interior, satin black wheels, black trim, so it's in a black paint job. So it's black on black on black on black on black, and that's a lot of black. So then I thought, well, what if we were to make it black-ish, and do something to the black to kind of offset all the other black? And that's where we're at now. So my paint store has a big book of colors, and basically it's every factory paint code that has existed up to when the book was published, and it's a fairly old book, and it's all sorted by colors and whatnot. And we found the color that was just, it was a deep, deep, deep dark. It was almost black, but it looked kind of blue and it looked kind of purple, and you really had to look to see that. So I had to mix me up a sample. I'll show you that sample, and it didn't work out well. So not sure why. I don't know if maybe the picture we looked at was put wrong and it was in the wrong page on the book, and it, who knows. So that was out. So then looked again, and there was an accurate color called Nighthawk Black, and it was black, but it had just a hint of blue pearl in it. So I sprayed that out, and it just didn't pop. So let me back up a little bit and explain what I'm about to say. Years ago, I got bit on, in fact, it's on the race car that's on my banner on my YouTube homepage. Those colors, the yellow and the greens and all that on that car, were all custom colors, because I didn't find a factory color that really fit what I wanted the car to look like. All fine and good. Sprayed it out, looked nice. Until the first time I wrecked it. And then I had to replace body panels, and I didn't have enough leftover paint to paint the new body panels. So I went back to the paint store. Paint store was out of business. And the paint that they sold me, nobody else remotely close sold that kind of paint. So, out of the question. I kind of got a little bit of a phobia about that over the years, about using custom colors. And so my attitude has always been, if it's not a factory paint code, then I wasn't going to look at it, because a factory paint code is reproducible by any paint company. They just type it in their computer and it tells them what to do. And just so you know, PPG and Sikkens and Axo Nobel, which is the Dynacoat, and what I'm using here, Ethereum, the paint in the end comes out the same, but they label their pigments differently. So you can't take, you know, a paint code from Sickens and take it to PPG and say make this, because it's Greek to them. So that's one of the problems. However, the more I looked at it, I couldn't find that perfect factory paint code that just really spoke to me. And I finally realized, you know, my bad experience with custom colors was 20 years ago. Well, actually more than 20 years ago. And things have changed since then. We have this thing now called the internet. And, you know, it's easy to find the original manufacturer of the paint somewhere. Somebody's got it somewhere. And if not, then you can usually order it and it can show up on your doorstep. So that mindset that I had of, you know, only use factory colors, I kind of got over it. So we started playing, and we took some blacks and just started adding a Cyrillic blue pearl until the combination just it works. So let's look at my test panel, and hopefully the camera will show up and you can see what I'm talking about. So here's my test panel, and of course this is the old fender we cut off with a Firebird. It's a perfect test mule for just spraying out samples and whatnot. And the end here was the original color that did not turn out like we thought. It was supposed to be a really, really dark bluish purple, and it turned out brown. So unhappy with that, disregard that. The second little color in here is the Nighthawk Black. That's the accurate color. That's got just a little bit of blue pearl in it. And then this part right here is the part that I came up with. So right now, I mean, obviously, if you look at it, it kind of looks black, you know, and well, it looks black. Let's get it out in the sun. I hope the camera will pick this up. So there's the brown. Obviously, I'm not doing that. There's the original black, and it just kind of looks black. You really have to get close to see the any kind of a metallic in it. Here, and I'm hoping I can get this close enough it'll focus. I'm hoping that that shows the blue. Maybe that's about the best right there. Let me see if I can get a little bit better angle on it. Hoping that shows that up. All right, well, if it doesn't, take my word for it. All right, so let's talk about this. Okay, so that's the color. It's black with, well, for a gallon, it's got 4 ounces of Cyrillic blue pearl, which, when you look at it without any light or in fluorescent or LED lights, it still looks black, and there's a hint of metallic in it. You almost can't see the blue. But when you get it out in the sunlight, it pops, and you look at it, you do a double take, and you really wonder, you know, what is it? Is it black? Is it blue? Totally custom. There's no paint code for it. There's no name for it, because, you know, it came from me and the guy at the paint store. So, too late to change, because I've got 2 gallons of it. So, you know, that's what's going on in the car. But I'm going to ask you guys, give me some comments. I want a name for this paint. I want a name for this color. I have my ideas, but I want to hear what you guys think, and let's name the color. Tell me what you think. Anyway, that's the paint. Well, that's going to do it for this week, guys. Got the HVAC box installed, got some random parts installed, got the paint picked out. So I hope you guys like the paint. Like I said, give me some comments. What do you think? Good, bad? Well, it's too late, because, like I said, the money's already been spent for the paint. So that's what's going on in the car. Big shout out to my paint supplier. It's Palmetto Paint Specialties. They're based in Charleston, South Carolina. Got locations all over South Carolina, some in Georgia. The guy I use, he's down in Ridgeland, South Carolina. Really, really good guy. Sharp, knows paint like you don't just, he knows paint. He knows as a paint guy should. He knows a lot more than me, so I lean on him a lot. Anyway, big shout out to Palmetto Paint Specialties for helping me out on getting the paint that it pops, believe me. Next week, let's see. I know in the last Firebird video I set some parts on fire and you're kind of curious what's going on. I didn't get to that this week, but that'll be the focus of next week's video. We're working on reinstalling suspension. So I hope you look forward to that. I certainly appreciate everybody watching every week. Big thanks to all you guys. I really, really appreciate it. Okay, I got to throw this in. Please like, share, subscribe, notify, etc., blah, blah, blah. The subscriptions right now, man, I'm this close. I'm this close to 1,000, and that would really help me out for you guys that are watching. Just hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. Anyway, we'll see you guys next week. Everybody, have a great day.